In what may be a deja vu South Florida story, a new police chief hired as an outsider by a department looking for a sea change is then fired in a matter of months.
And such is the case of Fort Lauderdale's now former chief, Larry Scirotto, who lost his job, went public to restore his good name, and just possibly maybe get his job back. Larry Scirotto joins us now via Zoom. Chief Scirotto, great to see you.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here. So,
thanks for having me.
Larry, when you went in to see your boss after you've been on the job, about 6 months, Chris Lagerbloom is the city manager of Fort Lauderdale. He said he would have your back, but in the end he didn't. He fired you. Why did he tell you he was firing you?
The statement was rather simple with the city attorney in the room and HR director, is that they just could not defend the report. And so he saw no path forward, and that was the end of the conversation. And then I was escorted from City Hall.
So the police, the report that you're talking about is from the National Police Foundation, brought in to look over how you made hirings and promotions. You came in, you did what you say they told you to do, promoted 15 people right away, dismantled some of the promotions from your predecessor. And of course, we know that race and gender cannot be a factor in hiring, and yet that's what you're accused of doing, using race and gender in a factor to diversify the ranks. Did you?
No, absolutely not. And the report was done by Greg Rossman, not the National Police Foundation. They're a very reputable organization. So I just want to correct that very quickly. But the reality of it was the diversity and inclusion that I was hired to bring to the organization didn't mean that I would find or promote less qualified candidates. The minority candidates that were promoted were exceptionally qualified. They just were exceptionally qualified and happened to be a member of a protected class. And so of the 15, 9 of the promotees were white. Or white men. They were also exceptionally qualified. So the 15 people that I had the opportunity to promote were beyond qualified, and the 4 that weren't, the 4 that are part of this EEOC complaint, were less qualified than the ones I chose. Yeah. And given that, I stand behind the decisions that I made.
Can I just clarify that the National Police Foundation, thank you for that, is doing a report on the police department as a whole, looking into policies and practices. Is that right?
That's correct. They're doing an overall culture survey.
It was Greg Rossman who was hired by the city to do this report. And one of the things that he reported, he interviewed you for 2.5 hours, but he did not record that interview. It would have been better if he had. He said that on more than one occasion, you, Larry Scirotto, pointed to a wall in your conference room with photos of the department's command staff, and you reportedly said, "That wall is too white." Did you ever say that wall is too white?
No, I never said anything about too white or too anything for that matter. It was a reflection in the moment of time. I'm looking at the wall, and of the wall, it had the command team on it. There are 17 of 19 photos that were of white people. And the conversation was relative to diversity and inclusion and building a police department that reflects our community, which is almost minority majority. Our police department that has 32% minority, but I'm looking at a wall that's not reflective of that in any case or any shape or form. And to have an observation in time misconstrued as a statement of being too white was just factually inaccurate. And it was a narrative created by those very same people that didn't welcome my arrival from the beginning.
So, okay, wow, a lot to unpack there. So there is a definite bipartisan consensus that police departments need to reflect the communities they serve. And if a police department is not reflecting that community, and yet you as a leader cannot use race and gender in your hiring criteria, how do you take a department and diversify it the right way?
Well, some would suggest that it can be organic. And I think at times you can't, how do you look past what factors are immutable traits? And the reality of it is I'm tasked with finding the most qualified people that are of protected class or are of other ethnicities and represent our community. And I think we do that well if we are intentional about talking about it and discussing it. And that was one of the side notes from the city attorneys: just don't talk about it. And that just doesn't seem to be a fair way to build a diverse and inclusive organization, or a realistic way to build a diverse and inclusive organization.
And if you say that you were not terminated for that reason, but for another reason, I think anyone who knows the city of Miami, and I don't want to catch you off guard because you may not know about the workings of the city of Miami, but the fire chief, Art Acevedo, had a very similar experience. Came in, was tasked with changing an insider culture. Presumably, he said he was doing just that, and then made everybody angry, and off he went. Do you feel like, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
History repeating itself here?
What do you think was the cause of your termination?
Well, they state very clearly that the city manager stated very clearly that the cause of my termination was they believed I participated in discriminatory practices for promotion, which is inaccurate in every way. The Rossman report.
So what do you think? What do you think?
I think the Rossman report is an opinion piece that was created by some of the insiders that had the ability to influence City Hall, and in that, his opinion is that's why it wasn't recorded. There's no transcript to any of the interviews. It's why he only interviewed 21 out of the 65 potential witnesses to get a specific narrative, and that specific narrative was to write that I was participating in some type of illegal behavior, and that's just inaccurate and it's false in every way. And that's why I continue to refer to it as an opinion piece.
Yeah. Larry, on Friday on public radio in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale Mayor Dean Trantella spoke very highly of you, praised the work you had done, and you appeared this past week with the president of the Broward chapter of the NAACP. She praised you, said you were wrongfully terminated. So you're getting some support. Is there a possibility that you could be reinstated in this job?
I would love to be reinstated. I love the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. The people that work there, the men and women are great advocates, great servants to our city. I love the community. I don't control that decision, and I know Mayor Trentalis doesn't either. I guess that would be a decision that the city manager would have to make now that he is provided with, I think, more information than he was originally given. And hearing my side of it, this is publicly is the only time that I've been able to give my side of this story, other than with that report is intimating that I had done. So now maybe with that information, he chooses to take a different path. Obviously, reinstatement is an option, and I would welcome that. However, I don't control that outcome.
Worth it to mention that because of the legal ramifications, that is the reason that the city said that they could not speak publicly, although they were invited to do so. Larry Scirotto, great to have you with us, and we appreciate your time and your comments today.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. Have a great day.
And you as well. Thank you.